Funny.
Hey Debbie.
And apparently, did you see that?
Hey Dan, how are you?
All right, so you can see and hear us?
I can't see you because of where you're sitting, but yes,
No, but I
can.
mean, you can see people.
Yes, yeah. I never did this when it was in a meeting like this. I don't think I ever have.
Oh. Yeah, we don't do it. We didn't do it very often, so.
Yeah, no, you know, you've done it a bunch of times.
I mean, like, are you part of the quorum, Debbie?
Yes.
You are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we had a big discussion about that today.
Yeah.
Hi, Renee.
There's not enough notice.
Have
then
some
they're not.
chairs and, you know,
I'm actually here, but I can't see me, and I don't know if I can find me, but I'm here.
We hear. I hear you.
I'm
Yep,
here.
we can hear you.
Says I have video. Oy, oy, oy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here.
Debbie, how are you feeling?
Feeling we'll fit at one table.
I'm on the mend finally.
Good. I hope it wasn't too awful.
It was just very long. I was really sick for like until yesterday.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was strange. I was sick and then I got sicker. It was weird. Not
Oh.
sicker, just I got a new symptom. I got this cold, really bad cold. It was just really weird. But anyway, I seem to be on the mend, so that's good.
That is good.
Glad to hear.
So is that Jerry? Okay.
Yes, hi, Deb.
Hi, Jerry.
I guess I'll do the minutes, but I hope, you know, as long as the Zoom works. So we'll see how that goes.
They're all like.
I'll start writing people down.
So I'm just trying to figure out. You're good. Where the camera, I don't know where the cameras are. Now that it matters. And Jen will.
Mm,
The cameras over there. And they pick up everybody up here.
I think the camera,
Yeah, over there. Oh, yeah. Liam's not coming.
no, it's only gonna be 6 of us.
Debbie, are you still taking notes or do you want me to take notes?
I can do it as long as the Zoom keeps working, but if you want to take some notes, then in case I need clarification or whatever, you could help me out.
Right.
Debbie, as far as I'm concerned, they do not need to be as thorough as they.
You won't be doing the
That's true.
micro editing?
Pages worth.
The
I
age
actually
of Dan.
I can't see who's here though. I can't actually make out people's faces.
So on Zoom on Zoom, you have Christy and Renee, right?
Yeah,
I
I'm
see
gonna
the-
jump
I-
off for, I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump up for 1 second and see if I can restart and get video because it looks like they're still getting seated. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Debbie in attendance is Jen, Dina, Lindsay.
And the strong.
Dean, is it?
Kate and Mrs. Mary,
Mary.
who's new to the committee.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi,
Mary.
Schiffer.
And Robin, who's the other person who's new, is not feeling well and is not.
Robin,
And then Liam is
Mary.
traveling. Guess you guys are where you are.
Nope, this is what I look like tonight.
Right.
Hmm.
So, I brought my Robert's Rules of Order. So I'm gonna call
Oh, that's good.
the meeting to order on the second. Yeah. So before we.
We can't see you still. Bummer.
I know, sorry, I'm here. I still look the same.
Channel 4 is here.
And it's because there was a mix up in the October minutes were not approved and we're going to approve November. So, yeah, let's do them separately. Somebody want a motion to approve the minutes for October?
Second.
All in favor of the minutes being approved for October 17th meeting?
Hi.
Hi.
Aye.
And then, a motion to approve the November 21st minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those minutes are officially, approved. So for Mary, we're gonna do some introductions, a quick introduction of everybody. I can start. I'm the Dan Fishnick, the chairperson. I'm just starting as the chair. It's my first meeting.
Wow.
So bear with us, all of you bear with me.
Very
And my interest is primarily like sustainability, so building, heating and air conditioning, and just the sustainability of buildings, vehicle chargers, transportation, and we can get into it a little bit, but there's something called the CFC, which is I always forget it. Climate smart community.
Oh, yeah.
And by New York State, so so there's some of us in that, there's native plant interest, there is land reclamation and trying to, a greenway project to get a greenway put in along the river, so that's sort of the areas of interest, but if you have something else, you feel free. Kate? you wanna do that?
Yeah, so I'm Kate. I've been on the committee for 2 years. And I'm interested in all of these things. I try to get involved with everybody, but my primary thrust is to try to get a hold of open space and either restore it or keep it, or but in particularly along the rivers, given their ecological resources being at the rivers. And also that there's a lot of pressure to do things on rivers that could be negative, given the flooding that we've experienced. So it's a way to kind of be in there and to be part of that conversation in a more operating nature-based solution. So that's what I'm up to. Yes.
Tina, hi. So I joined the committee, I believe. And I'm mostly involved in natives, so let's call it biodiversity conservation, and also a huge supporter and fan of the Greenway undertaking and our efforts to spawn a whole bunch of native parks, gardens around the whole country. Jen LeClaire. I've been on for a year, and I'm technically a compost, which is cool. And healthy yards. We're completely. It's not the leaves thing. We're all the leaves campaign back in. That's more of like an everyone push right now. I love plants. It's all the above as well.
Well, hi, I'm Mary Schiffer. I'm new to the committee. I've lived in different places. I grew up in Chicago, and we like to call Chicago a city in the garden. And I think I started my first garden as a kid trying to grow popcorn seeds. And, they actually grew, but you didn't really get ears of corn. So I also lived in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they're very eco-friendly and eco-minded there. So I've been involved in training and weed, the environmental stuff for buildings and everything. I used to actually work as a consultant for the village, so I'm sitting in this courtroom, which I designed for them many years ago. Oh, so the bench and everything.
Are you an architect?
Designer. Okay, yeah, and anyways, so yeah, I love the gardens. I love all that stuff. The greenway would be a great idea, but I'm also familiar with the building conservation things. One of the things I was trying to get the village to do before I stopped consulting with them was to get the smart thermostats installed in the firehouses. Because think about it, when you're running out to a fire, who stops to say, let's turn down the thermostat?
I'm gonna close that door.
But yeah, that never really went anywhere, for whatever reason. But yeah, there's a lot of great things that this committee.
Well.
Oh, well, the people online.
I'm Lou Young, I'm a trustee. My main function is to keep everybody out of your way and try to get the board to do stuff that needs to be done to complete the vision that you guys come up with, and maybe coordinate with other groups.
I'm Lindsay.
I've been on for a year and, last year, I guess, I helped organize the Monarch Festival and planting native gardens and, look to continue that and pushing for natives.
Oh, yeah.
On the screen, Debbie, want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Debbie Sullivan. I've been on the committee for 3 years now. I just re-upped for, I guess, another 3. And I think I joined the committee really because I was really interested in the composting program, and I'm still really interested in that. I'd like to see it grow significantly. But I'm also on the Climate Smart Community Task Force that Dan had mentioned earlier. And as part of that, and as this committee for the last almost year now, I've been trying to do this thing called the Energy Smart Home Campaign, which is something with Sustainable Westchester that it's a campaign that we're going to get hopefully some money and points for in these 2 different New York State programs to get people to basically put heat pumps in. So we've been doing some educational efforts to that end, and we'll be talking about that later on in the agenda. That's me.
Gary,
Mary and I know each other. Everyone else knows me. Mary and I used to work together, and I just serve as staff assistant.
He's very
humble. Yeah.
We just try to get stuff
done. Christy, are you there?
I'm here. I'm sorry. My video does not want to participate with the meeting, but I am here and I'm listening. And Mary, nice to see you. We also know each other already, neighbors in the hood. And I guess my background, I think I lost count. I think I'm 5 years on the committee for the environment. And my initial motivation was litter in the community and getting involved with the cleanups. And then the cleanups have led towards learning a great deal from all of the green thumbs on our group and getting involved with the Greenway, which I've enjoyed. And that has also led to more awareness of the entire community, and the bike lanes has become an interest as well. So I think mostly I just like to see cohesiveness in the village, and I'm excited to see you here, Mary.
Yeah, hi. I'm Renee Crabtree. I've been on the committee for, I think, 4 years now. I'm like Christy, I've lost track a little bit. Anyway, I initially joined too because of the compost program. I wanted to see it grow and continue to want to see it grow. But also have gotten very interested in the native plantings and the work that we're doing with the Greenways project, and trying to find more and more ways to get native plantings into the village.
So Mary, so that's and it's not an either or. You can participate in any and all of the endeavors that we do.
Yeah, no, you guys are doing a lot of good stuff.
So next, I just we did this a couple of years ago and discussed goals for the next coming year and just sort of what's achievable. Some of the stuff is kind of out there and we never seem to get to, it just doesn't happen. So just some things that we can focus on as a committee that, that at the end of the year, we've accomplished a tremendous amount. We are now, applied to be a bronze CSC community, and then we'll continue to aim for silver. The Greenway is a huge project, and we do the different cleanups and Monarch Butterfly Festival. Kate talked about, probably would help us is adding a better communication and outreach to the village and to the residents. and then also an education component. And I don't know if anybody is interested in that or, you know, I think what we're finding is even with the leaf blowers and stuff, that it's becoming more of, if we can educate the community, get that at, you know, as opposed to landscapers against, you know, and just have the residents understand why it's helpful and important to limit leaf blower usage and perhaps take up mulching mowers or, you know, et cetera, we may get more positivity from residents who will pressure landscapers. Things like that, or just getting some of our initiatives out there to the public. And since not everybody's here tonight, we don't necessarily decide what the committees are or the subcommittees basically. But at least if you guys start thinking about it, you know, just you know, I don't think many of them are going to change. I think, you know, still the natives, still sustainability of buildings and healthy buildings, the greenway. But, you know, if we can focus on education and somebody wants to take that on, you know, and if anybody comes up with other stuff. So if we want to table, at least come back to that, and when everybody's back in January, we can have a fuller discussion about it if that works for everybody.
I've got some thoughts on that.
Sure.
Because, so I would nominate Lindsay for that one. If she would. But not to say you would have to do it the whole, all by yourself, you know, because, you know, you're gonna have people, but. So, you know, like I'm thinking, and the reason I'm thinking about that is because one of the primary ways we communicate is through events. So like the Monarch Festival is a giant platform, right? And even like the little ribbon cutting we did at Rockland, that was a platform for education, or the thing we did at Sarah Newman, or the cleanups, you know, to think about those as, you know, to leverage them.
Yeah, and I definitely, I mean, and one of the people who worked on events have stepped away from the committee, but the three of us worked on this Monarch Festival together in Jan. But yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously, Taylor's Lane is not going to be my forte moving forward. But yeah, no, it's I definitely where I assumed I would pivot, and I definitely think it's not a one-person job. And I especially think, I mean, we actually, I don't even know if we discussed that we're doing a like winter sewing event,
Right?
in January. But I do think we should think about incorporating. I know we were talking about education about. We're trying to think of, do we incorporate some sort of April or May event that's smaller scale than the Monarch Festival, something we could do, but we could you know, promote low mow May and kind of think about that. So
you know,
that's
I was
I wish we could like have some sort of like online. You know, like I wish we had like some sort of, everyone can see it. I think that's the final.
that's what we're doing,
Yeah, if we could have some sort of, I mean, I know there's a CFT webpage that I know needs, but maybe that's like too, I don't know how involved that would be. Get information up on that.
Only got on the villages.
Yeah, right, on the village website.
So, you know, I'm thinking about that, you know, like basically we have on CFC, our thing, we have on the village website. And like that is like a problem because it's nobody, I mean, if anybody says, oh yeah, I'm interested in what the environmental committee, oh wow, they had this event in 2022, that's still there. It's like, that's real pretty embarrassing, you know? And so actually, this is the Jerry question. Okay, so Jerry, I asked Sally, you know, if we want to update, which we need to do, the village page as part of this whole education thing, you know, how we do it. And so it's Robert that has to do it. So here's my idea, and so see if you think this would work with Robert, is that us would take a piece that is our piece. So like I would do, say, invasives and maybe greenway, you know, and somebody else would do native plants, and somebody would do composting or healthy yards, no mow May, leave the leaves, whatever it was. We'd each take a piece and go through what needs to come off and what needs to go on. And then we give it to Robert. But we want it to, go smoothly and so forth. So is that feasible, Jerry?
So you give it to me. So what happens is, Kate, that whomever volunteers or assigns for that piece of the website to update it and polish it up, you can send it to me individually, or as a group, it doesn't matter. And then I will provide it to Robert after I reviewed it. And this way he can just post it. If it comes from me, he posts it right up. If it comes from others, then he comes to me and I can't have this and you need to direct me. I work for you directly, that kind of stuff. So just send it to me and I'll take care of it.
Jerry, should I send you the edits to the DPW version? Is that the?
Yeah, send them to me. Yeah, send them to me. So I won't be back until the 2nd. I'll be back on the 2nd, but send them to me over the break.
Okay.
And we'll put them all together. And Robert, as you know, Robert, for a period of time was dealing with his dad. Now his dad's at the Osborne, so he's in much better frame of mind.
I thought we had talked about the last meeting about Lou had brought up about budgeting for a web designer, actually.
If you need a web designer, then that's something that Robert doesn't do. But Robert has access to our Civic Plus website.
As a committee, we can't really create our own website, can we? I thought we were told at one point.
No, I don't. Other groups have asked that as well, Dan, and we really don't need that because then there's no continuity of information. But we can try to bulk up and enhance the CFTE portion of the website or of our website, or the food scrap portion of it, or the DPW portion of it. We can do that ourselves. We really underutilize the Civic Plus platform that we have because we're a municipality and we collect taxes and we provide services. So if we need a web designer for something, we would use the company that runs our platform. We would have them do it, but I'm not sure, Deb, what you're looking for.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to go about presenting information in the format on a our web page to put forth what like the Energy Smart Home program, for example. I wouldn't have a clue how to go about doing that.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I know what
see.
the information is, but how to design it into some sort. I mean, if Robert, it just seems like a big job, and that's why I think Lou had brought it up last time that maybe it needs to really be budgeted. I don't
have
know.
a graphic. I've been using the manager's budget line, contract services line, to do some of the things that we're doing at CFTE. But and I do have a graphic designer who puts together some really nice material. I'll talk to him and see if he has someone or if he can provide. But in the 2024-2025 budget, there should be some discussion at this group about putting aside several $1,000s to do things that typically come out of the manager's budget. Because there's no other place to, we paid for the Rockland, my budget paid for the Rockland sign, and some other things. So
I was gonna say that if each of us, went into there and looked at it and said,
We're supposed to do.
yes.
okay, but whatever, do it for next meeting, and just to say, yeah, I can take this chunk and then start, so that little by little we feed it to Jerry, then it goes up and it starts to look good.
Yep.
Jerry, well, what would you call this new budget line, this new small pot fund?
It's the same as the Arts Council, Lou. Arts Council gets a good amount of money because they put on events, and we have to pay for the showmobile that shows up at the park. So it would be we would just develop a separate budget for the CFTE based on some of the things that they want to do.
Okay, all right, so then you'd have to think about what would be a comfortable amount. Don't
Yeah.
get too grandiose.
Yeah, supplies, some contract services, we need to hire people, things of that nature. It's really, there's no employee, there's no, there's nothing really, it's just a limit on, that the Board of Trustees approves that you could use to promote the CFTE or any program.
I think that would be wonderful, because in all of the years I've been here, we've operated without a budget. So I think that having some resources available and then determining what the priorities are would be huge.
Yeah, the Arts Council really utilizes it and helps us do a lot of things, arts related, outside event related.
Sorry, what's it called that they use? What's the name of it?
The Arts Council?
No, the money that's used. What's it?
Well, we have a dedicated budget line. We have dedicated budget lines.
Just a dedicated budget line. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so for
it's in the budget.
During our budgeting, which is coming up.
Okay.
So when we sit down, we'll have to create a line and,
So do we need to come back to you before January with that number, I guess?
I would think so. When would they need
I don't put the first draft of the tentative budget together until I talk to the board at the first meeting in February is when I talk to them about the first draft of the tentative budget. So you have all of January.
For reference, what does the arts
Just trying to talk. Can you give her? Has literally been trying to talk for the last 5 minutes.
I just go back to when you started talking about the desire for education. And the leaf blower was one example where it became a very hot political issue, and it continues to be so. So I understood from that your objective or our objective is maybe to smooth over some of the potentially contentious issues by preempting via education.
Yeah.
Is that the motivation here? Are we clear? Like, what are we trying to achieve with this education?
Trying to educate people.
Understood,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, really, that's it.
to move the community on specific topics.
On certain issues.
All right, and then maybe to make it easier when we introduce new whatever practices such that we don't get all this blowback.
Well, the leaf blower issue is one contentious issue in particular.
Well,
Some of it's just more general.
and within the noise managed to frighten the parts of the board away from syncing up the law with Larchmont. And now there are people in the chatter verse talking about peeling back the whole thing, rethinking it. The whole thing needs to be rethink. Which is I'm not going to support, but that's what you get. But you have to have. I think what you need in addition to education, you need an advocacy rationale. In other words,
That's
why?
where I'm going. It's not just education for the sake of it, but because we are on a program, we have a vision, goals. To achieve those goals, there's an education component. I think is what we're trying to say, right? There's a bigger goal. We do a lot of things, and the other thing I wanted to say, and then I'll let everybody else talk again. But what I've learned in this committee so far is we show by doing. And that is not to be underestimated. So we have to continue to be the doers, but we somehow, and I think I don't participate because I'm not good at this, but people here manage to get folks in the community involved. So we're back to, we have to be doing things and getting more than us, doing all the work at Rockland, trying to get more and more people
There were a lot of people involved.
right? Such it becomes quote unquote a movement.
Right.
I think there's education and there's public relations.
When push comes to shove, what you essentially need is people who stand up at that podium over there and say, this may be inconvenient, but this is the future, and we're going to have to make the move at some point. And at some point, it's going to be an inconvenience to somebody. I mean, somebody's not going to be happy.
So I'd like to just jump in and just knock this through.
What this is
for the habit. Like, for example, in terms of communications, like Mandy was very good at that, and now we don't have her, so we gotta, I think we need to create like a little more of an institutional memory. So for example, like all the people that volunteered at Rockland the first round, my ongoing Rockland Nostrum volunteers, like all those emails, I want to make sure everybody has those. Everybody who paid, the list of everybody who came to the ribbon cutting. All these people that I wrote to get support for the Greenway. Like you saw some of those letters, but I didn't forward them all, you know. We know the people at Native Plant, we know the people at Westchester Land Trust, we know a lot of people. But I mean, I may have that information, but yeah, but like to have, I mean, I'm not good at Google, all that, sharing all that. But I can put it in, I can put my stuff in Excel, and so that we have it, like, I remember Ellen had contacts, and I'm like, I don't remember, like, so now do I have to go call Ellen, can she remember who were those people, you know? Like, so we pass it on, like, as we change over, so it's like, yeah, here's the stuff, and it's
So
easy.
here's the community that's been.
Yeah, and
active.
all the cleanup people, all those signups, all the Monarch, the 800 people, you know,
Can
all
we
these.
send emails like that? Can we like
Broadcast?
send big emails like?
Well, at least we have the list and you can go through and say, yeah, well, I don't want all these guys, but I want these guys, you know? However, like, you know, all these Girl Scout troops that we're dealing with, and the Boy Scout troops, you know, you lose track of them all, you know? And then if you just think about putting all that together, so we, you know, are a little more coherent with it. And because we spend so much time, all of us scrambling around, you know, checking things and hunting for things. And then to think about what we have. So the first one is our website on the village. Then we have our Facebook page, we have our Instagram page. You know, we have the village newsletter. Then we also have the patch and we have the observer, like, you know, Mandy was pretty good about making sure something got in there, you know? And what else? And then Mandy's Facebook
Include the
page.
loop in that too, because they have an environmental person.
Okay, and then also, there's different Facebook groups that we're part of, the one that Mandy started or Westchester Pollinators. We've really leveraged those groups, so, you know, like that might be something for you to get involved in.
I just got a question. for
Okay.
you. I'm listening to what you're
Yeah.
saying, but, okay, have you outreach to the public school community at all, or is there some restriction?
I was
on doing
thinking
this?
students right now, and I was back to Oakland just for lack of, you know, new ideas, but we didn't seem to make any headway, because it sounds like that would be fantastic maybe for like a student or so.
Whatever, you know.
Build out
They're
their-
not returning our phone calls, so, yeah. But anyhow,
We have reached out to them and certainly, then we can. You know.
Yeah, because from the events that you're describing, from the volunteer
Hmm.
base that you need, otherwise you end up just with a bunch of volunteers that are retired. And you're not growing a
Yeah,
new,
you're not
younger.
right, right. Well, anyway, we need to do all that, you know, more, so just, what I'm saying here is that, you know, since we've lost Mandy, who did a lot of that sort of on an ad hoc way,
Yeah.
that we get a little more organized about our information, that we know what we've got. So, and then we look and we say, yeah, we're not doing a good enough job with the schools. Who can we talk to at the schools? Because right now it's kind of hit and miss.
Yeah, because, you know, when I was in Illinois, there was a huge composting thing at our elementary school. They were using the worm compost and everything. And I mean, all the school kids were really involved in that. So I mean, getting that information to the schools and hey, this is how it works, you know, this is what you can do. I mean, there's a lot of tie-ins in their education programs. So, I mean, I just
Like
think
the education, that could have like, there could be one person on that committee that maybe you know, just because you're so good with all those, you know so many of the kids, you know? I mean, I wouldn't know where to start. They have all their
Yeah, no,
clubs.
but we have this,
You
so
know,
we
I have
have,
many kids, they're all grown up.
we started a database when we were doing the
Yeah.
Monarch Festival
Yeah.
that we shared with Liam. So
Okay,
we have the framework, we have every single
that's great.
school
yeah. that's
contact, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we need to.
See, so I didn't even know
build
that,
that
but if
out.
I knew that, I could maybe
Yeah.
use that, you know,
So,
so that we all know what there is, and then,
yeah,
you know, when one of us is not here.
Yeah.
Or resigns, or whatever the case may be, it's like, boom, here's the stuff,
yeah,
it moves on.
And
So,
so
yeah.
the idea is with all the contacts, we then can do our outreach.
yeah, I mean, like, I think,
Targeted topics.
I think like,
such
for
that-
example, like the cleanup.
Right.
Like, we should have had a higher attendance for that. And I think that's also something, I think January, we need to get our calendar of events, I think, for the whole
Right.
year. So that we know, you know, Robert, about the compost, we gotta promote, but there needs to be more like pushing on that.
So are we saying that in a
But-
way the communication would revolve around events?
No, I mean, part of it.
Yeah, you know.
So an ongoing education, but events is what brings us together, and so we, you know, that's a great opportunity for us to engage with everybody. I mean, it is great,
Right, events bring the community out, but if we have another issue or something we wanna educate about, whether it's lead the leads, doesn't have to be an event. We could just do outreach based on that.
Okay.
Well, the other,
stuff
yeah.
in Excel and send it to me and I'll Google
Yeah.
Doc it and then I can share.
I know, I mean, I have to get my stuff together too, it's my
It's no
stuff.
rush.
Well,
Well, let's say we could also just sit with like two computers
Yeah.
next to each other and like
The,
just.
the other piece of that is to also see like, in terms of all of these things, like the healthy yards, no mow May, the leave the leaves, the blah, 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 whatever it is. Even the benefits of, electric, versus, gas equipment, that we have the handouts that we need. Because we don't necessarily have those, they run out, or we're all kind of scrambling, what do you have? And, it's always kind of last minute. When we do these tabling events, like, I don't want to go to a table because I don't have anything to give,
So we need a stash.
That's
Handouts, educational material.
Yeah, which we kind of have, but we kind of need to like take another look at that and
Yeah,
make
it's at,
sure
it's
that.
at my house, but I can make a
Make sure that we're,
spreadsheet or a database.
it's in there and that we're all happy with it and all that.
So what we're also saying is we can divide and conquer such that everybody takes on a topic.
Work together.
Everybody could.
All right.
We can decide that as a committee.
Yeah.
next
Okay.
time. That's how we wanna break it down. Anybody at home wanna chime in?
This is thoughts I had.
I have to agree completely. I think the phrase you used, Kate, was institutional memory. And if there's a way that we can bring the collective information that's been gathered and the contact information that's been gathered and try to, education has always been the biggest issue. And as people come and go, it's best that we can keep that information between transitions. And so, yeah, if there's someone, but again, I think that the students would be the best people to do it because they have the most recent resources at their fingertips. And if they can make it easy for us, then that's even better. So we can just get to work.
So I have a radical idea.
Sure.
So in listening to what you guys are talking about, if you did a one-page thing, whether it's online or wherever it is, the eco-friendly home in the friendly village of Mamaroneck, and you could distribute it to the realtors with the new home families coming in, because that's a really big thing, as people move into the, they want to know, what's available. No gas powered leaf blowers, and we do it because of this, no cutting down trees because of this, blah, blah, blah. And here's some events that we do each year, get the kids ready to join the Monarch Festival. But I mean, yeah, so I mean, but that's a good way to kind of energize people when they're excited about moving into the community.
And when they're hiring them.
And they know what the
Yeah,
rules are.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, because otherwise you're preaching to the people who've been here 40 years, and that's the point of that. So,
I think that's a huge idea because it's taken me 10 years to even get up to speed with the things that you need to do as a new homeowner. And so many new people buying homes come from the city.
they don't know.
So it's
I
like
don't know.
package, the
You
eco.
got it, but it's not even a
package,
huge
whatever.
thing. It could just be a one page or two side, the realtors will have them put them in whatever, welcome to
And
the
they're the
neighborhood.
distribution network.
Yeah.
Yay.
Exactly. And it makes them look good,
Yeah.
Hey, Dan,
Yes.
I think what everyone is talking about is typically like subcommittee assignments.
Right.
And I think a media or outreach subcommittee, maybe Mandy was the, sole force behind it, but I think at this point, we probably need something like that.
Yeah.
Going forward.
PR and then education.
So it sounds like
Mandy
that.
was a force of nature, so.
I noticed that the Instagram has been very quiet, actually.
Yeah, it was all Mandy,
was-
I know.
She was posting on it every day. I don't know.
Good going up,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so. I don't know. Somebody's got to take that over. I'm
I
not,
signed in. If people are on Instagram, if you see stuff, just forward it to the CTFE account. And I can push it out. I just, am not always looking at it because I have my 3 accounts on there. But yeah, no, but if everyone should be following if you're on Instagram, but yeah, just push stuff over there and we can make sure to get it out.
yeah, how do you just post it to, you can just post it to it?
You can just send it like a message. So if you're on like something you want to share, there's like a little arrow that looks like the plane, like a little.
Right.
And just
Oh, okay.
we'll just send it to the Committee for the Environment account. And then I'll.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Oh, great.
Do we need budget for print materials?
They usually print it for us.
Okay, so that's not an issue.
No.
Okay, great. Even though we'd want to be digital as much.
I know we need stuff for cabling.
Mhm.
Anything else in this area?
No, the one thing that we missed, the one thing, Dan, that we missed was that someone asked about the Arts Council budget. So the
Yes.
Arts Council budget supports some of the music at the 4th of July, as well as the stage. But they get about 22,000 a year to put on several small music events in the parks. Music in the park, I don't know what we call it, but we call it something. There's a little group, there's a small group of 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 musicians that go from park to park during the summer. We pay for that. And then there's the orchestra at the 4th of July that puts on all the music, some of the stage work, and renting the stage from either Westchester County or Portchester. So they burn through that money for typical events, all community stuff, nothing else really. So that's where they're in the $20,000 range.
I mean, in your opinion, what is a reasonable amount of money without being greedy?
For what you want to do as far as mostly outreach and things of that nature, and maybe, I don't know, some promotional material, or maybe a pop-up, like a backdrop for some of the events, maybe about 10,000 to start. I think you guys would, it probably would be difficult to even spend all of that. So that should be the request.
Give context, Jason, Parks and Rec line items $1,500 for the Monarch Festival.
Yeah.
So they,
That is already in the budget.
that is in the budget.
That's in Jason's budget. Yeah.
Well, I don't, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, right. But I was giving an example, that's what, and he didn't even spend that, so.
I mean, we need, if we need money, we have to come to you anyway, right?
Yeah, and what happens is I get about 150,000 in my budget to do miscellaneous things and to do some of the automatic, some of the contracts that I manage from the manager's budget. I always have a little bit extra, so I can always absorb a little bit. But I think a dedicated budget where you get an updated print sheet from me every month or so of where you are could be could be a little bit more relaxing as far as doing some of these events and moving forward.
So basically, once the budget is proposed February-ish or whatever, then if it's approved, that money would then just be available. And
Yep, it's available, right?
Okay. All right, good.
It sounds.
so do we have to be very specific in order to
No.
get it approved? No, we just
No.
have to say we want $10,000
Right, and then the
for
board
events
decides.
and promos.
Yeah, 10. And then the board decides whether, they feel comfortable with that number or not, and they may ask for some more detail. It's okay, we can provide more detail. I give them a $41 million budget with no detail, Deb, so it's not really that big a deal.
Is education around the events we have, and maybe there's a month, every month is a different topic, I'm kind of making this up, so, and then we, not just one thing, maybe 4 or 5 things, whatever.
Yeah.
And culminating in an event, that would be wonderful. Maybe that's a way we can do this, and then, get our act together and get those events done. I'm putting myself in that bucket too.
Yeah, I
And my
mean,
former municipality,
if we have all these ideas, we just have to actually have hands in these
Exactly.
things. I mean,
Yeah.
And that's
people
where
step up to do it.
Yeah, but it sounds to me like a lovely cadence. Every month is a different thing, and then certain months we have an event, and then brings the community together.
Hey, Jerry,
yeah.
how much of the lawnmower, the gas lawnmower money is left?
1,200.
1,200, right?
Mhm. I think that's project, or that's specific to, there might be some guidelines with that 1,200.
I just,
Like we might want to do it again. We might want to do the blower thing again until we blow through that money.
Well, maybe you attach it to your next event. Yeah, exactly. And just keep doing it till.
Yeah, we use grant money for that, so I want to make sure that we don't violate the guidelines, because then we got to give back the whole 5. But I'll look at that at some point when I come back.
But that's another thing with getting the info out to the realtors and what the welcome packet is. When people first come in, they're looking for ways to volunteer, what event can I help on, things like that.
Yeah.
So, that would be a great way to encourage that.
It's a good idea, and we don't expect the realtors to lay out the money for whatever printing or folder or anything like that. So it'd be good to be able to provide that to them. This way, all they have to do is hand it to them instead of anything else. I think that's a great idea.
Actually, okay.
It sounds to me like in terms of when we had our holiday party, everybody I talked to, someone managed to say the word flood or flooding. And whatever maybe, and this is where I think of the Greenway, for example, Kate, if there's something we could do, there's a thread through everything we do that it might actually align with the flood issue. I'm putting it out there because it's a hot topic. Okay, so we kind of feel that's a good idea. Let's play it out in different ways. The Greenway is a core one. I think there might be others where it is all about how do we interlink nature-based solutions, God knows what, with flood management of some sort.
And in my mind, and no one else agrees with me, but in my mind, flooding is a subset of the environmental concern.
There it is.
My first impulse when I got this job was that maybe flood mitigation should be a subcommittee of this committee, but they think it's too big a deal.
And actually, do we have the discussion about the committees working with committees?
Yes, I put it on the bottom.
It came, yeah.
So are we, just so I can get, are we gonna kind of skip
Some of this
committee
is,
reporting?
some of this is
and
to
then-
see if we can eliminate
Yeah,
because some of these things like the bike path,
yeah,
I think we created a resolution that said, yeah, we're in favor of it, but, that's all we can do at this point.
You can't do everything.
Yep.
And that's something you probably got as far as you can do.
I feel like we don't need,
Yeah.
we don't need to discuss it.
but this is actually, well, sorry, so Taylor's Lane, nothing happened, ecological.
So on Taylor's Lane Solar, Linz, I did reach out to a company, Amerisco, something like that, who does they do large municipal county projects. So I haven't heard back, but when I do, I'm going to forward it to the board, to the committee, because the information that I'm looking for are case studies and information that could help us determine whether it's worthwhile or not. Don't deliberate on it as a group by email, but it could be something if Dan wants to add it to the agenda for next meeting. We will have information by the next meeting about solar.
And I think.
That was my assumption.
And I think this committee probably should take a position on what you want to do with Taylor Lane. I mean.
It's a good idea.
In other words, you had talked about a pollinator field or that kind of thing. There are people in the community who want to use it for sports fields.
Yeah,
And
they came last week.
yeah, and I'm ready to fight them on that, but that's if you want to weigh in on it, that's the time to do it.
It seems that once you get to that point, we're not really there yet.
Yeah.
There'll be a public hearing about it.
Oh, sure.
And we'll make our opinion known and we'll weigh in strongly. And then all those people can say what they have to say. Everybody gets their day in court and the board decides.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure it's worthwhile. So I'll take care of that part. Passive recreation, everybody knows it's just going to be a walking trail, and pollinator plants garden is an easy fit. But I have to sell the adaptability of the property and whether it's worthwhile or not. And so that I'm trying to get that information. I'm just starting to gather that information now.
Yeah. I mean, for both Gary and Lou, the DEC still hasn't really relinquished anything, right?
No, They haven't, but they have their own issues, you know, with staffing, and that's what David was trying to explain a couple of meetings ago. It's just internal on their part, but everything else that needed to be done or had to be done has been completed. It's just the final stamp, you know, of approval from them, which they can't get to.
Your opinion, does it make sense to go to Shelley Mayer and Steve, what's his face, Steve? And go above, just to put some political pressure as concerned citizens.
It may, but it has to kind of, when we do that, it has to kind of rise to a level of an emergency. Like when I needed to dredge the river and we went to DEC and I used Shelley and Steve to kind of shield, you know, some of the stuff that I was doing and saying. And it worked. So I kind of used that card in that last resort type of situation. I'm not sure if this is that situation.
But isn't 20 years
That's a good point, but this is municipal government, Dan.
And
20 years is like a half a career.
All right, well, maybe we can talk and just see if there's some avenues to kind of poke the bear a little.
It won't hold us back from moving forward with anything that we want to plan to do.
Right.
So, and when the DEC finally decides to pull our pile from the bottom, pull our application from the bottom of the pile, then we'll get it and they'll just show up. I mean, the approval and everything released will just show up one day. That's how they operate. We just got our final payment from Superstorm Sandy of $176,000.
Wow.
11 years later. So.
But also there's the Mangones issue with Taylor's Lane.
Lou and I had a discussion with the town of Rye. We may have a solution for that.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, can I talk about it, Jerry? Or
oh yeah, you can talk about anything you want. Yeah,
be a joint project of the village and the town of Rye. I mean, we mostly us, but they would have a small part of it rather than try to fight over that one corner of property. We just include them in it, and Mr. Zuckerberg seemed to be he seemed receptive to that, didn't he, Jerry?
He did, especially since we volunteered to do all the work. Just give him some credit.
Name it after him.
Yeah, name it after him. Right. That works for me too.
I guess my question on the agenda was, are we keeping to January, creating the subcommittees and doing our goals? And we're just doing catch-ups.
Yeah.
I thought if more people were here, I
Yeah.
thought we would do the goals and but to be fair to everybody.
Yeah.
But I would urge everybody to kind of focus on it and come with some specifics that we think.
Would
And
we then kind of vote on prioritization or something, so that we kind of focus on a few things? And really devote it.
unless there's if there's
I think
12
everybody
different
who's
things.
taken a subcommittee has and done that, has super focused on it, you know, so I don't think that every subcommittee, everybody that has a task has front loaded that task and accomplished that task. So I don't think there's any sense in saying one thing is more important than the other, but I don't see where.
Well, I think last year we came up with kind of like what was gonna be our 5. If one thing wasn't really.
We may keep everything the same and just
Yeah.
add media.
Yeah.
Educate, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if somebody has a brilliant idea, you know, let's bring it to the table and stuff. You know, and then we'll discuss it, and I don't think that we're gonna change radically. Dramatically different directions. All right, so if everybody's good, we can, you know, just plan on the next meeting and we can move on. So some of these committee reports, you know, for me, this agenda just keeps repeating, you know, every month. And we kind of just.
But I do have something to say, if I can say, about ecologically sound open space.
Sure.
Again, this is about institutional memory and about, you know, being sort of on top of things. So we're starting to have quite a few spaces, so I'd like to have like a little database that, you know, I can contribute the parts that I know, like how big is basically each one, like Lock and Pocket, how big is it? Where is it? What's in it? where are the things? And then the really important is what needs to happen to it? Like it needs to be mowed, this part needs to be mowed at this time, or it needs to be weeded, or does it need watering? And, or, bark, so the list that I have, and, and so this is not for tonight, it's just, so Fenimore bump outs, okay, that's not like that's not our responsibility, but what's in there, so what happens to it? That's mostly parks, but we do have a role to plant into it, right? We're allowed to do that. So, Fenimore, the Bark Park, Island Rock Park, Van Rance. So like, for example, the Van Rance Park that was planted by Mandy and Christie, like 2 years ago, we're sort of a little bit forgetting about it. We need to keep thinking about it.
By the flagpole.
By the flagpole, what's in there? Does it need to be expanded a little with a few more slow plants? Okay. But, basically just to, so that we all know, we all do know, but exactly what we've got and what's in there, but also for the people that come after us to keep track of it. And we can even put on there like that cemetery garden or the Sarah Newman that we had a role in, but we're not actively involved in, but they're there so that we know that exists. And, maybe, every so often somebody has a look just to see what's happening there. So I think like the reason I'm putting it on here is because a lot of new spaces are coming on with Greenway. And in each of those, like we have to make sure that everything looks good, because that's our sales job. If things don't look good, then people are like, wow, that's native gardens, it's a mess, So that's really critical that, for us to progress with our, what we're trying to achieve, to spread that message to people that our stuff looks good. And anyway, so I know I need to do that for my spaces, like, the ones that I'm more involved in, like that's really critical. But I think we all should do that for everything. And then I think, then Parks knows that we kind of got this. We know what our job is, but we can also say to them, that's your job, to water that or to weed that or to mow, whatever it is, periodically. So then it kind of reduces the friction and it, so it's not, it's just not, it takes it out of the ad hoc and it creates more of an institutional thing.
I can work on the native plant, like putting databases together.
Yeah, like just whatever, rough measurement, roughly what's in there.
It's also where we need to plant more and then get our act together and, where we can, like, I'm always transplanting, so I need to plan, so that kind of stuff. So we are all ready to go when the time comes, if wherever we do planting, order plants.
Yeah, that would be too, but whatever, it's not a big deal right now, but it's gonna become, as we start to have more places around the village, it's gonna get to be a lot.
It felt like a job.
And
I had a question, so
Yeah.
new person here. Did you ever do that thing of like having different partners adopt a planter or, something outside like someone's business, they might want to take it over?
I mean, like when I was thinking of doing a rock, like some of it's tricky because like at the Rockland Pocket, it's all these native plants and it's pretty hard for people that aren't really up the curve sometimes to tell, okay, what something is.
Right.
And even the supposedly knowledgeable volunteers pull out the good stuff and so come on, folks, So, it's not, it takes a certain measure, but like, for example, there, and that takes me back to the education piece. I go down there and I pick up trash and there's not a lot. But like there was a Girl Scout troop that came down. We did a little ceremony, a little thing with them. So I'd like to have like one of the troops to say, once a month, that's their park, they'll go and pick up the trash. And then maybe I can organize like a weeding day with them or something, something like that. But I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
We should put a QR code that people can click to learn.
Okay, what
It
yeah.
says the plants. And all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't even talk about that, but like the signage, like eventually it would be great. Like, for example, in that, like the big rock pollinator garden, to have a thing, like, okay, this bush, is a host to this, to have like stuff, this is a host to this, to have specific signage about that. And that's something a budget would go for too.
We would, and do it permanently. I did this in my yard and it was gone immediately. So you have to have it printed.
Yeah, like a laminated thing,
Yeah,
yeah, for
something
sure, for
permanent.
sure.
We had an idea of
Yeah.
doing like a pollinator pathway up and down the Merrimack Avenue, or not even necessarily limited to that, but like
the village, but there's so many businesses on the avenue, but we just didn't have anybody to actually do it. Get in on that, so.
So Renee and I started.
Which part of
So we
America?
welcome them to join, so we kind of mapped it out, I have to kind of get my act together.
That's your committee.
Exactly, exactly, so.
I make that our top priority. Oh.
Still wait for everyone to do things, but we like talked about it, and it's just me working together with retailers. Renee, you're on the phone. Renee, you know, to talk to the retailers and get them motivated to actually take it on with our hand holding. Such that when they put natives there, you put on the
Right,
bill,
well,
they
there's,
plan.
there's like 15 different options that you
Right.
can use, pick your favorite.
Right.
Set your thing to.
So there's a
Yeah.
couple emails that I need
Get a little
to send,
competition going.
get a little budget idea, how much money do you save by going native, you know, then that becomes the argument.
Yeah.
What you were talking about last night, that's animal America.
I know, so Renee, you're welcome to join up with Renee, myself, the more the merrier, you know, we'll move it forward. But
Well,
yeah.
My time is kind of limited, so I'm not gonna be reading.
No,
I'm not doing that.
But I hear you're a great manager. Nora told me that. Nora said you're a very good manager.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So.
Mental no.
Yeah, operation.
All right, so maybe yes, open spaces and land reclamation should be a subcommittee. You know, it already is.
Well, these are like pollinator gardens, and some of them are gonna be just straight up pollinator gardens, like in the parks, and then some of them are more, in the open space, doesn't really matter where they are.
Right.
But that's a date, and we're all gonna collaborate and create that document. And keep it up to date.
Keep that together as one.
Okay, okay.
Sort of projects, right, or what do we call them? Planting.
I don't know what we're gonna
call them something, but.
But you know, the other thing, getting back to the school kids,
Yeah.
I mean, once they hit high school, they have to put in so many volunteer hours to
Right.
graduate.
Yeah.
So I mean, even having something like volunteer.
I have a kid in Okra, I have to.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah, no, my youngest just graduated from high school, but I could probably still recall some of the people, but I mean, you know, just putting a list together and saying, you know, here's like 15 projects that you could volunteer in the community that, you know, get the young labor to do it.
Yeah, and they were, I mean, we do recruit them for all of these
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
They do come out for all of
And
them.
we recently put ourselves, you did it,
I
right?
emailed them and then
Cause Okra, like as an Okra project, for kids, but the database, created a database where anybody could go and put volunteer opportunities up.
That's
So
Yeah.
Lindsay submitted us, not like as an Okra project, but that is the project, but just so if someone's looking to volunteer,
right.
this database
Yeah,
exists
that's
now. And, they can find, us and others.
That's great.
on an unrelated thing, but just because it just popped into my head. Is Michaela coming back next summer?
I want her to.
Harry was asking about that. We don't know. We can reach out to her.
Yeah, it's up to her completely.
Okay. I hope so.
All right, so, Kate, you were at the
For what?
Board of Trustee
Oh,
year-end
that-
report. Just a
Oh.
quick
Well,
update.
we
Well received,
went over that very well. I mean, he was.
What's not to like?
Yeah, I mean, he went through all the different things. I don't remember what they did. Yeah, I mean, that meeting was more interesting to me that it was supposed to be about an update to the leaf blower law. And the people who are impacted by it a lot, which is the landscapers, only kind of just heard about it and thought it was the first round, and it was about the leaf blower law. So the whole place was full of landscapers. And, you know, and they made, so I mean, I didn't even stand up and speak, and honestly, I'm gonna say, because I really felt like I don't have the facts, you know, if they're gonna tell me that it has a third the power and it's gonna take them 3 days to do it instead of a day or a half a day, I don't know. No, but I feel like we sort of fell down a little bit, like, I mean, that law didn't come out of this committee, but we did support it, like, we need to, we need to have a better command of our facts. What?
I would.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair, you
I
know?
mean, it came out, I think, Nora.
Yeah.
It was her thing,
Yeah,
and then
Well, anyhow, but so the idea that was left there was they're gonna have some kind of a working group that maybe Liam said he would be on. But, with, I mean, because we had it was a long conversation, I wrote it up, and everybody read what I wrote. We had this long conversation after it, and they were like pretty open-minded, but they have a lot more information about the actual equipment than we do. And if we're gonna push for that equipment, we really need to know what we're talking about.
But here's the thing, you can say, I mean, they might desperately want to hang on to it, but guess what? There were golf courses before there were leaf blowers. And it's not, we don't, we can, at the community, we can say we don't want them anymore.
Okay.
Deal with it.
Right.
I mean, we can do that.
That's a political decision, and so, I mean, our committee can't really go behind it and say, yeah, we put all our prestige behind this idea that's gonna put all you guys out of business, and there's gonna be people, put everybody turns upside down. There's a lot of opposition.
Within the last, I can say,
Yeah.
I've lived in this community, in this area,
Yeah.
for more than 20 years.
Okay.
And when I first got here, the landscapers used rakes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I had all these rakes left on my property because they didn't want a rake anymore. They had these cool new leaf blowers. So I mean, it's not, this is not something that, we haven't had leaf blowers forever. Leaf blowers are fairly new, and it's not gravity. They don't have to exist.
Anyway.
And the technology will change.
Yeah,
Right.
I do know that, because I know enough about electrics, because we have some investments in those things, that the battery technology is going fast.
Yes.
So it probably does make sense to hold off like a year or so. But, but I do think, and I just want to say that the whole healthy yards thing, the no mow May, the leave the leaves, those pieces of it, and individuals using electric, that we need to, I think, that to me, that's so important, that in using native plants, that really, we need to be
It's
more
all part of the same
consistent.
thing.
And we need to promote that more and,
Yeah.
have somebody be in charge of it.
I mean,
I volunteer, Jen.
I guess healthy yards.
I think at some point we had talked in this committee about, instead of talking about how bad leaf blowers are, to go it from the other point of view, like you're saying, about how we need to do these other things to promote good gardening, like mulching and leaving the leaves, and forget about telling people the evils about the blowers, and more to try to change the aesthetic around how these yards look. I mean, one of the things is when people were using rakes, there were probably more leaves around. They're not as efficient as blowing every last leaf off of a lawn. So I think the thing is to really get people to accept it from a more positive point of view than thinking of eliminating the blowers because they're bad.
But then at the end of the
forcing
day,
people
just
to-
changing the wording of the law that it's enforceable, like that is the bare minimum of what we are asking.
So one of the things that I've observed in the last couple of years is that almost every communication that comes out from the village starts with law number blah, 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 with a fine of blah, blah, blah. Oh, and by the way, it's good for the environment. That's exactly what you just said. You gotta flip that around.
Right.
We're trying to, have healthy lungs, have healthy, places for the kids and everything, all the positives, biodiversity.
Yes.
And by the way, it is enforced by the bottom.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the last
You know,
thing.
Yeah.
I think connecting what you were saying, what we were talking about with Healthy Yards has a list of Westchester people. I think that if we came up with something that start out with, these are the 5 green landscapers, and then going and saying, do you want to be added to the list? Which of these things would you, which would you offer? Like, which,
Oh, that'd be great.
do you want to be listed as having electric?
Okay, but you had somebody like that. We need to find out who those companies are and vet them to make sure they're legit. And then we can put them on that piece of paper.
On their list. And then to hand out and say, it goes on the website. Yeah, but then
Recommended or whatever.
but to say,
Does Larchmont have a list like that?
Gonna say that,
Oh.
and I believe I have it, but but it's probably not up to date.
But
it's
that's the
definitely
starting
a good
point,
jump off
you
point,
know.
and
Yeah,
I
but we could start with it, yeah.
I mean, it would be to simplify it because lists are things that I have too many of. If there was some sort of, stamp of approval from the Committee for the Environment, if there was some sort of like way to just highlight the positivity and the support.
Down the retail strip, come on.
So that's basically the board of trustees.
Yeah, yeah.
Composting.
So nothing really new, however, at the party last night, I was approached by a woman, Marina.
It's on the art committee.
On the art committee, who's writing an article on recycling, so she asked me if she could talk to me about that. And I was thinking, I mean, yes, of course, but then I was like, instead of like traditional recycling, like plastics and all that, I'm going to talk to her about food scrap recycling. To try to push our program. So,
And point out that Jerry, got it, food scraps, kind of reclassified as a recyclable for the union contract, didn't you, Jerry?
I did, yeah. That's the
Yeah.
only way I could get past. That's the only way I could get them to pick it up during recycling day without having an issue with the union.
Yeah, so that was not something that was necessarily, absolutely going to happen, so
Yeah.
it's a big
I
deal.
don't think people think of food scraps as being a recyclable item, so I think that it is, and it's so I'm gonna push that aspect. Because plastic and, other stuff, but this could be like, it could be an interesting article if I hear from her and if it gets written.
Is this Marina? Is this Marina? Because she also reached out to me, but when I reached back to her, but I never heard from her. But I think she also had been interested in maybe touring the MRF, which is the recycling center, which I think would be really interesting. Maybe we could look into setting up to see if there is I think a couple of years back, Ellen looked into trying to set it up and it wasn't possible at the time.
I
But
think I did that with her, and it's very educational, and you should absolutely. I think they're open for general public tours, and it's worth it. It's interesting.
yeah, I could try to set up and see if we can get a tour set up, and if people want to go.
Where
I
is
think
it?
that'd be.
Debbie?
I forget. Yonkers, I think, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, I
No,
think
Yeah,
in
it's in.
Yonkers.
No,
Somewhere
it was in.
by Stu Leonard.
Yeah, it's by Stu Leonard's. Yeah,
About posting, Lindsay and
isn't that Yonkers?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
um,
So, and we have up until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we have a 15-passenger van at our disposal. So we could go if you want to go in like a 10 o'clock road trip. We could set it up so we could all go together. That would be okay too.
It's single plastic bags gum up the works there. It's the bane of their existence. They're everywhere, wrapped up in all the gear. It's all
awful. It's awful.
I know, and you constantly see this in people's recycling. It's unbelievable what people put in those recycling bins. And the guys pick it up. They should just leave it. I don't know why they pick it up.
Well, what happens is if recyclables come to that center wrapped in a plastic bag, 9 out of 10 times it gets thrown in the trash.
I know, but why are our guys picking it up?
Yeah,
Because then people would learn that is not recyclable.
Well, because it's in the bin, the whole bin goes in the truck.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, it's not really their job to do that, but that's another piece of education, obviously.
Are they actually, like, there's so many different rumors about that the plastic just goes in some garbage heap and.
I think there may be, I don't know. I think really no, they're not recycling.
Well, it's a good reason to go to the MRF because I think then we ask those questions directly.
And we should
Well,
go
I'll try
on
to
a
look
Wednesday.
I'll look into it.
We should go on a Wednesday when our numerous recycling trucks take separate trips to the MRF. And you can see all the fuel we waste by going back and forth with separate trucks. That would be great, actually.
Is there any better solution to that?
No, there isn't a better solution, but it would be, the better solution would be for the recycling to get picked up from us instead of our vehicles going to the MRF. But
Well, there'd still be fuel, it'd just be somebody else's fuel.
yeah, but not with all the multiple trucks.
Well, then,
It's because we have, 8 trash trucks and we have to use them Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for trash and then Wednesday for recycling. It's just, you can't get a hybrid truck that works. You've all seen trucks that have 3 or 4 separate containers in the back, where you have different areas, different hoppers for different things. We don't have vehicles like that. So if you did, then one truck would collect everything and then go in one trip instead of 4 trucks doing the same thing. So it's
Good
We
question.
gotta get a better truck.
it's inefficient. Yeah.
We redid one of the signs, right?
For
Or pickup,
composting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because there's another one by the post office, which still has
Oh,
the,
yeah, Jerry, so maybe if there's some budget money, could we get one more new composting sign? And put it, and maybe a little bigger, and put it at the post office? Because I
Same
also,
design that TJ created last time.
sure, and maybe larger, because I feel like that position at the post office is so perfect, because
Sure.
stoplight there.
Yeah.
And I feel, and plus the parking lot at the post office is so close, like it's so visual, it's such a good spot. So right
Okay.
now, it's the sign on the way to Rhinebeck or Rhinebeck, like that little triangle.
Yeah.
That one's kind of hard to
Peeler.
see, sign is small and you're just driving, people are passing it in motion. And then down at Harbor Island is good because you can stop there. But I think the post office would be so awesome to take down that old one and get up the new sign. And people are gonna look because there's that stoplight.
You mean across the
Okay.
street from the post office?
What that, sorry?
You mean on the grass verge, on the far side of the road from the post office? Is that what
Yeah,
is
where
that-
all the signs are,
Got it. Yeah, good.
Sign, but it's
the old.
the old sign, it doesn't mention the pickup.
Right.
And yeah, so
Yeah, I noticed that it's out of date.
it's out of date. And Jared, can we make that one bigger if we can afford it than we made the last ones?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it's a comprehensive plan. I'm not sure why we discuss it. So I'm gonna leave
no,
it.
higher, it's in there.
The comprehensive plan exists
It
to
doesn't need to be. It's done.
public education, Christie, we've been
Yeah.
discussing it, but
Well, I think we should just sort of for a moment pause on it. I don't exactly quite. I think I'm on public education because I was very involved with the cleanups, but I'm probably the worst person for public education as a representative, because social media outreach is a void in my life. I try to avoid it altogether.
Me too.
But I do agree that there should be at least, Jerry had mentioned potentially, a media outreach subgroup. I mean, we have Robert now and we need to utilize him. And as far as this has been, the education has been the hardest part. Awareness first, and then changing ways is even harder. I can't volunteer to be a part of it because again, like I say, I shy from that spotlight, but I think a focused couple of people that might be able to do it, because I love the idea of the realtor outreach and then all of the other things that we need to have cohesive information, including the databases of all the historical information. But I'm not it, but I'll help.
okay, all right, so we've discussed it, basically we've covered it, we'll keep talking about it. Climate smart communities, Liam's not here, but as far as I know, we've bronze stage and Ellen is submitting to whomever, Lower Hudson or NYSERDA or et cetera, the Hudson Valley, and hopefully we will achieve bronze and have it we'll get that bronze notification and then we're continuing to work on going towards silver, which is it's going to take some time and effort, but we're getting. we did achieve bronze, which was.
And we have a meeting in January set up for January 10th, I think.
Yep,
Yeah, we're doing that at noon? I don't recall following
I
the
think it was
emails.
switched. Somebody wanted it, I think at 1.
1
I think it's
o'clock?
at 1.
Okay, 1 o'clock's good.
I'll double check it right there.
Yeah, if you get me in the middle of the day, if not.
Yeah,
the
1 o'clock,
mornings-
1 o'clock.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks.
leaf blower laws we have talked about, unified solar permit.
I have a question about that, Lou. So, you know, when, at that last meeting, Liam and I, well, mostly Liam, thought that you guys were gonna vote on the whole thing. In other words, that the Board of Architectural Review was gonna stand down and, you know, but then you were gonna also go forward and vote on the unified solar permit, which you didn't do.
We didn't do that, no.
Okay, but is that gonna go now? I mean, we thought it was happening that night. That's why he was there.
I can't, Jerry, why did we do that? Do you remember?
No, I wasn't there. I don't know why it didn't go through.
Well, apparently I wasn't all there either.
It was a meeting, I was home with my wife because she wasn't feeling well. I don't understand. I don't remember why it got separated. It's not supposed to be separated.
So that it can go forward, because that didn't happen, so now it needs to happen.
Yeah, I don't, I'm lying if I tell you what I remember.
Yeah, I don't think there were any board members opposed to it.
Take a shot at bullshitting.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay, sir. Thanks for keeping us honest, Kate.
Okay.
No, the reason we did that was
Yeah,
because the technicality was the premise.
Alright, so when Liam's back. The next. Jerry, should we talk to Dan Zonup about putting it on the next agenda, or?
No, I'll send him, I'm on emails now, so I'll send him an email right now.
There's a reason for it, I don't remember why.
Yeah, but I'll send him the email now because it'll go for January 8th, everyone. The board has a meeting on December 26th just to pay the bills, but the meeting isn't for a couple of weeks. It's on January 8th. So there's plenty of time for me to connect with Dan and maybe get Lou the answer, but I don't recall why. But it'll be on for the 8th again.
Lou, is there a reason not to bring it up?
No, I mean, again, I was on Zoom, so my recollection is not,
Energy stretch code will.
I made him petting the dog or something.
That's a Liam thing, part of the climate smart community, and that's one of those ongoing, topics that's gonna take a while. Gas powered equipment, we know it's 1,200 remaining. Should we, it doesn't pay to do, gas powered snow blowers, does it? Doesn't seem like.
No, I don't.
There are
think so.
do electric snow blowers exist? Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Battery powered. They're battery powered. They're good for the properties, for most of the properties in the village. Some properties are out of control, but it would easily do a driveway and a couple of walkways around the house. No problem there.
So it could be, people could do that. They could
Yeah,
bring in
it's not a bad idea. It's just not something I can roll out until like the end of January. I'm not sure if it's worthwhile or not, just because of the timing issues.
So let's keep it for lawn equipment.
Yeah, let's keep it for next fall. Let's keep the 1,200 for next fall and see if there's extra money to kick in. If people, ideally, if there's more than 12 individuals who want electric powered equipment, then maybe we can find some money at on the village side to make sure whomever wants to buy electric powered equipment next fall has the ability to do so. I don't want to turn anybody away for $100.
Were all the things turned in leaf blowers, or did people bring lawnmowers?
No, they had all sorts of stuff. Weed whackers, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
They're gas powered weed whackers.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Jerry, do we still have all the stuff?
No, I think James had Robert dismantle it and kind of separate the plastic from the metal and just threw it in the piles.
All right, because I mean, if we can collect the rest of the stuff, as we go on, we could probably, coax a news item on it, somebody come and look at the stuff that was turned in.
I'll have them take a photograph of the next batch that we collect, but that's it. That's what
Okay.
you're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, the status of subscriptions for food recycling, we level.
So we've leveled about 110 right now subscriptions, and we have, who was it? Liam was talking to the town of Rye or the city of Rye about some of the process issues. We don't really have process issues. We pick it up on Wednesday, but we've exceeded the estimated number of individuals that we thought were going to subscribe. So 93 were dropped.
What,
Sorry, how
what
many did you
grade?
Right off the bat, 93 were dropped when we started with the subscription because we had never picked up once at their property, even though they signed up to do so. And then I had about 3 phone calls with people who said that, that of course they wouldn't pay. So then I offered for them to do it for free. And then they said, well, I really don't use it too much anyway, so don't worry about it. So we're in that number. We're still picking up. So the number of customers are less, but the amount of material continues to go up.
Okay, well, that's promising.
Yes, it is. And I keep forgetting because there's a lot of stuff that I deal with, but someone has to remind me before the next meeting to get the numbers from James. So it takes him just a day to calculate it, but he doesn't have it at the tip, right at the tip of his fingers. So.
Yeah, and Jerry, it remains a thought of mine, or that apartment buildings seem to be a natural source for this stuff because they got to take their trash somewhere anyway. And if apartment buildings had these bins, that we could do even better. I mean, is there?
My apartment building has a bin, and it gets collected by a private company.
Oh.
So we had a Zoom call with curbside composting. He was very impressed with the
Home pickup, our residential pickup.
yeah, and the numbers that like financially that we were handling it, but they had been proposing if, the idea of like piloting one apartment building to try to see kind of the process, but is that something that the village would be able to do, to pilot one apartment building?
Yeah, we can try with, there's a brand new apartment building right behind the regatta. I know that the guys pick up recycling. It's the one at Honda Bob's parking lot. They're brand new. They're starting right now. I don't see many people moved in yet, but it's completely done. So I think something, right off the bat, fresh, I think would be a good idea to see. And we could do the pilot for a year and see what kind of numbers we get and see what we get out of it. The reason I'm suggesting it is because it's an easy stop for us. It's an easy, quick, it's ground floor trash cans. We just pull up, we double park, and we pick up the stuff and then we take off. So we could easily do that.
You're saying for the village to pilot that, or for the private company?
For the village to pilot. The private company won't do it. They're not going to be interested.
Oh, I thought that's what Lindsay was asking. I'm sorry.
Oh, is that what you were asking, or for us?
Jerry, what kind of containers would you use? Like, what were you thinking for that?
I'll send as soon as I get back to my apartment. I'll send the group a photograph of the containers that they use here at the Mason.
Okay, that'd be great. And will we soon be able to like pick up the heavier? Because it's wet, so it's heavier. That's not.
We can pick it up now as long as the container has rolling wheels, because we have a lift gate on the back of our pickup truck.
Oh, is that new?
Yeah, we put the lift gate on there several months ago because we wanted to make it easier to take the stuff on and off.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Sherry, does this pilot program require board action, or is it just something you can do?
I think I can do it. I just gotta get Capetta to agree. They're not my favorite developers, but maybe, maybe we can work something out.
What, can I just ask, is this the new apartments by Tompkins Bridge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just an observation, it may have nothing to do with anything, but I did walk by there the other day and they had a little tiny forklift that took their trash all the way up through the parking lot and went over to basically where Ward Avenue comes out and dumped it into a dumpster by that tiny business there. So they drove their trash around over by Ward Bridge to that business and put it in a dumpster there.
Because that's their main office, and they haven't set up private carding collection yet there.
Okay, but it's the ground level that's most convenient for the village.
Yeah, most appealing to me. Yep.
Okay.
We might have to wait a while for people to move in, you know?
There doesn't seem to be anybody, it's all decorated, but there doesn't seem to be a single soul in there.
Nope.
Yeah, but it's ready to go. They've already asked us for the CO, and we've set up inspections there. So
You know who's moving, who moved in there? I thought he already moved in, is Kevin, who was on the Town of Larchmont committee. Because he had to move, he sold his house and he's moved to Mamaroneck.
so there's two of them, Deb. There's one on one end of the parking lot. There's one on the other end. There's one at 355, and then there's one at 172.
Oh, okay, so maybe he's in the other one.
Yeah, I think he's in the other one.
All right. Good.
Moving right along. I leave the leaves literature, somebody's working on that.
I'm completely.
We're gonna give it to Jerry.
I'm gonna give it to Jerry.
can make it happen.
And hopefully it won't.
Easy now. Jerry has a lot to do. I am the guest.
It's time for all the
leaves to be gone.
Right.
The leaves off the.
Yeah, it's done. And I'll send it to Jerry sometime over the break if he is gonna, when he comes back, he's all over it.
You want to give a quick update on that?
Yes, I will. So everybody saw the presentation that the board liked, and so then I worked a lot with this young woman from Millennium named Taryn, who's a great resource for any other grants that you want to do. And so when we needed information about the cost, so I measured everything, and then Gino helped me out. And Gino went to SLR and got their landscape architects to give us kind of a ballpark that we were able to include in the grant, which will likely, if we get it, it will likely be 100,000, which is really a kind of a drop in the bucket. The range for the design is going to be like 370 to 750, something like that, based on what SLR said. So I talked to Dan Sarnoff about it, and so the idea is, depending on what they actually give us, rather than using that to sort of scope out the whole thing and then have a wonderful scoping thing, to actually just design a chunk of it, and then we can move to build it. So my plan right now, because that's going to take a while, it's in the works, is to meet with Taryn now to say, okay, let's scour the woodwork, every grant that we can find that either with design or construction or any aspect of it that we can go after to just completely, as much money as we possibly can. So one of the trickiest things about this is going to be needing ideally to get some private land. So that is really tricky. And so I actually talked with Greg Cutler about one of the pieces that I'm interested in. And so then there was another whole email from the mayor talking about how there has to be more collaboration between committees, blah, blah, blah. So I go to most of the flood committee meetings anyhow. And so I will go in a more official capacity as whatever, to be like a more of an official liaison, if that's okay. And I don't know if you have to vote on that or whatever, But the idea there is that the flood committee is totally on board with the Greenway. They wrote a letter, the Washingtonville housing people who are all the flood people, there's like total big support for it. And they understand that, you know, if you can get a hold of some of these parcels and get them out of the system and make parks out of them, this is huge, but this is a really heavy lift. So, so that would be the focus of what I would try to do with the flood committee. And there could, so like whoever is gonna be on that side to collaborate with them, to then go to see if there's money for that, to buy actual property. That's what I would focus on. Another aspect of it is, so Westchester Land Trust, which, you know, that took a while to reel them in, but they came to our ribbon cutting and they know who we are now, and they are very interested, and they wrote a letter of support, and they said, we'd like to meet with you in January, either there or here, to see how we can take this forward. So I'm probably gonna say here, so that we can show them around. And I think the thrust of what they do is conservation easements, which we're also gonna need for certain parcels. So, you know, anybody that wants to be part of that, that would be good to, you know, but anyway, at some point in January, to do that. So think about that and let me know if you wanna, you know, that's like pretty technical stuff. It has to do with taxes and all that. So anyhow, so that's kind of where that's at. And just to tag on a little bit, the maintenance piece. Okay, so we're talking about how we're gonna maintain our garden spaces. But, and now Jerry, this affects you. So like I keep looking at Columbus Park, which is a park. And along the river there, the vines are not maintained. So what I would like to propose to the flood committee is that we have a joint sort of maintenance committee. And that would be, you know, like a vine cutters, like the Bronx River Vine Cutter Group, you know, that we would organize people, and they'd have to, you know, of course, sign a paper to say they fell in the river, they weren't going to sue us, with their boots and their clippers to go down in there, because it's a huge issue for flood control. And I've been on this committee 2 years and submitted pictures, photographs my first week, and it has not been addressed. So, you know, and it's going to be an issue in the Greenway that we're going to have to tackle anyhow. So we may as well get our feet wet and start to say, you know, that's really not Parks Department. They don't do it now. Why do we think they're going to do it? You talked about a boat with, you know, clippers on it or something like that. But, you know, I think people with boots and hand clippers, we can get it done. So, do you have any thoughts on that, Jerry?
I would assign someone like Kyle to assist with someone potentially like a seasonal or someone on her staff to help out. She's much more familiar with going into the water with waders and instructing people to do things, you know, at the water's edge. So I think it's a great idea. I don't have a problem with it as long as it's a volunteer group. You know, when you talked about or was it maybe Jen or Lindsay talked about the gardens, no, it was actually you, Kate, who talked about the little gardens. An example of our staff learning how to take care of the little pollinator gardens that we have all over the village is when we took over the front entrance of Harbor Island Park. The Conservancy had a landscaper who was doing that, and they would give the village the bill of about $30,000 a year to take over the front entrance of Harbor Island Park. And so I cut that out by working with my staff, the Parks Department, for about a half a day and showing them how to prune, how to take care of those type of plants. And we've been doing it for the last 3 years. So as long as I show them, or we show them, how to take care of those pollinator gardens, they will include it in their maintenance, they'll include it in their process. Until then, they would be apprehensive to go in there because they think it's a total volunteer, it's 100% volunteer. So Jeff doesn't want to, you know, he doesn't want to interfere with the volunteer portion of what's going on with the gardens all over the village. But if I assign them to do maintenance and we do it in an agreeable fashion, the volunteers and we agree, you know me, I don't have an issue with knowing how to take care of plants, then we can add it to that group, to that list. The same thing has to work out with the with Columbus Park. You know, but Columbus Park is going to get ripped apart pretty significantly right after they rebuild the Ward Avenue Bridge. Because right after the Ward Avenue Bridge, they're going to rip apart Columbus Park big time. It's not going to look like it does now for a couple of years until all the restoration is completed. So I'm not sure how much effort you want to put into something that's going to have big Army Corps equipment coming in there and
Not about aesthetics, it's about those vines, they've narrowed the range of how the water can flow. They trap, they flow the water. So the Army Corps is gonna address Columbus Park, I'm gonna say in like a year and a half to 2 years. And so this is an issue every time it floods. So, you know, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with Kate there, Jerry. I think it wouldn't hurt to get in there yesterday.
Okay. So what I'll have you do when Kyle comes back, she's on a little bit of a break now, but when Kyle comes back, I'll have her work with the volunteers who want to do the Columbus Vine project, and she will make sure that she's comfortable with the equipment that we provide the volunteers as well as the instruction to work on the water's edge. I'm not going to put a boat. We're not going to put a boat in Columbus, you know, in the Sheldrake River, but we can have people working safely along the edge. That's no problem.
So I'm just a little confused. So you're gonna give it, you'll have Kyle take care of it. So it's not something that I should discuss with flood mitigation or try to get volunteers to work on it?
No, I want you to get volunteers to work on it. Once you have a group of volunteers, then I'll hand it off to Kyle and I'll provide Kyle the instruction of what I want her to do.
Okay.
She will be your staff liaison for that project.
Okay, smart.
And I think what Jerry's saying is that I mean, whatever we do there, it's just a short-term fix because the Army Corps is going to tear that up.
You're just talking about trimming all this vegetation
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. No problem.
Well, what they're gonna, I would expect them to be knocking trees out and everything. I have no idea.
But at least
Yeah.
think that they're healthy plants so that they.
Yeah, well, that's it too, because currently the vines are also killing the natives that are under there, and also they're killing the trees.
Yeah.
So, you know,
She's gonna get killed.
Oh. but I'm looking this way because as we do more of the greenway, this is gonna become an issue along the whole thing that we really actually need to address. So end of report.
As long as, I think,
Will people do we need to get like some clippers and stuff if they're gonna be volunteers? Maybe that's.
We have a lot of that. We have a lot of that
Oh.
stuff because I do tree pruning seminars. I do tree pruning seminars. We have all that stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay.
We have the waiters also, so we can outfit.
I'm
quite a few
ready.
people.
I'll help.
We're good.
I'm help.
Yeah.
I'll help.
I think you started at the strength, as long as you're going, the strengthening of protection for wetlands.
I don't have a lot to say about it. We need to talk to Greg Cutler and find out what the protections really are and what's realistic, because we really don't have the facts.
I think some of the land use stuff is gonna address that. I'm not sure that's the same.
All right, so I will put that on.
I mean, I was talking to him about it last night.
EV charging stations really quickly, Link got back to us, it's really a Con Ed issue, and I believe they're gonna put them in as the infrastructure, the electric infrastructure in April. So,
Oh,
is that correct?
Yep. We ordered, so to give you an example of Con Ed, we ordered a new 2.5-inch gas line right after Hurricane Ida for Volunteers Firehouse. This is a first responder facility, and it was just installed 15 days ago. So Con Ed is fantastic.
Con Ed and gas they're not too proactive of running any gas out of their protests, but.
No, exactly right. And so electric, so it was encouraging, the email we got, so I appreciate them for that, but you know.
We won't keep bringing it up, but we'll stay on top.
Yeah.
we already spoke about the webpage and the CSC and the CFTE. So we have to kind of figure out who's gonna do that. And then-
Energy smart homes, energy smart homes.
Right, I skipped you, sorry.
That is a lot.
I mean, there's actually something to report. In that, Lou, was able to get us a meeting with the building department, and Liam was able to get a full list of the information on a lot of installations of various heat pumps since February. So he did a really nice spreadsheet with all the information that Sustainable Westchester had asked for. So I'm waiting for Lauren to get back to me because some of it's not clear to me exactly. I don't know if Lou, I don't know if you were actually there or not, because I wasn't able to go, as it turned out.
Well, no, Liam, they took Liam into another room and they worked on a computer while we were discussing something else in another room. So I really
Oh,
wasn't.
okay. Yeah, because some of them are, the permits aren't closed. And he said that's because people don't want to pay for the final permitting, so they just never bother to close their permits. But does that mean the installation's incomplete? Like, it's not clear to me. I don't know.
Carolina would know that. I don't.
Yeah, so I have to follow up with Carolina and whatever. But anyway, I'm sure that we have at least 5 to submit our first. I'll have to do a submission for the grant money. And we should be getting that once that's approved at $5,000, and we have to decide what we want to do with it. So
That's great.
Hey,
yes,
Debbie,
very exciting.
Debbie, can you just go through the numbers? So five, and then what happens when you hit homes and 20 homes?
It's first you get five installations is 5,000. Then I think an additional 10 is another 10, and then another 15, I think, is 20,000. There's a total of $35,000 that we can get from the installations. So
That's great.
and I didn't count up exactly how many, but there's a lot. I mean, there's probably at least 20 now. I think I sent it to everybody, didn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
I
were-
did.
there were at least close to 40, I think.
Are there that many? Oh, thank you. Yeah. So if they all get approved, that's the only thing that I'm not clear on, is whether they all count. So I'm just sort of waiting to hear from Lauren, because if Lauren says they're good, then that's fine with me. That's enough for me. I don't even care what Carolina says. So
Good.
anyway, waiting for her to get back to me.
The bike lanes we've discussed, I feel like we've done what we can do.
Yeah.
We're gonna remove
Hey, Dave, on CSC, can I bring up something?
Then Dan
I was,
Yeah, but I mean, I think we made our recommendation.
But did we make the whole recommendation that Dan Sarnoff has in his letter?
He didn't show it to us.
The letter
But
that
he said he didn't
sent.
do the right.
Right.
Dan sent a letter saying, that there is to make sure that we get added into the current plan. There's a plan in Larchmont, I guess,
Yeah.
and that we would be included in the complete streets design. I don't know that we actually were aware of this, were we?
No, he just sent it out today.
Should we respond to him and say,
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Should we take a vote or send a resolution that we support his work?
I don't think so, it's not like a drop.
And God bless you.
No one says anything.
I mean, I wrote him today and said we were gonna discuss it tonight and then
You can
reach
just
out to
send-
him, but we basically,
So-
we're in support of
We're
it.
totally supportive.
Other than riding our bikes up and down the Boston
That's-
Road.
I'd say that's the consensus of the committee.
Yeah.
And then again, invasive vines, we
I
can
think, yeah,
take
I
that
don't
out.
need to discuss one.
Right.
A lot.
Artificial turf, I think we.
We
I don't know.
oppose it.
Right.
It's bad, it's terrible.
Yeah, but I mean,
Check.
funding of location, community gardens, that is you, Renee.
Gardens.
Yeah.
Community,
Yeah, the community gardens, I mean, I haven't, to be honest, had a chance to move that forward at all, but I need to reach out to the Conservancy at Harbor Island to see if they are supportive of trying to find a location somewhere over there. I don't know what, like, funding wise, Jerry, is that something that the village would, like, if we wanted to physically move them out of the current flooded area that they're in
Yeah.
to someplace also owned by the village that isn't in a, a flooded area?
Sure.
That's something that the village would pay for, right?
We would pay for supplies. We would do it ourselves. Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
All right,
We have a workforce. We have a 9-person landscape company that works at Harbor Island Park. We're good.
Jerry, does the Harbor Island Conservancy decide all the things that happen within Harbor Island? Like, if we've determined that there's a location, does they have a veto over that somehow? I don't get that.
No, it depends on who you ask. So if you ask me, I say no. If you ask the Harbor Island Conservancy, they say yes. So
Hey, Jerry,
So we can ask you.
can we put the gardens there? By Rushmore?
yeah, we can put the gardens by Rushmore, provided that we can run in some water, because I don't like filling up the barrels. It's very inefficient. And we would run a water line and create the thing, but please remember that the reason the Rushmore side is significantly underdeveloped compared to the rest of the park is because the Orient Rushmore residents do not want parking there for the rest of the community, and that has always been a little bit of a limiting factor. So,
But there's no parking at the current gardens, correct, Renee?
That's correct.
right.
Well,
So it's
Renee,
okay.
you like that area that, Liam scoped out a few areas and.
Yeah. So
Just
Liam went over there and looked at a couple of areas, Jerry, that are sort of off of the playing fields area. Like, they're not, they wouldn't infringe on the areas that are currently used for playing fields.
Sure.
Not sure that they would have a water source or not. And then somebody else, I think, threw out the idea of perhaps putting them over by the dog run. I mean, that's another possibility. You want to, you obviously want an area that has sun and that has access to water.
It's not there.
In the dog park, but like on the side, it's all shaded.
That area looked good because it was right by the parking lot, kind of near the senior center and all that, so.
Yeah, that was behind
That's
the
a good
senior
spot.
center.
That's a
Pardon?
good spot.
Yeah, and
And
presumably
there's water there.
Yeah,
There's
water
water.
there, exactly. And
That's a good
parking.
spot. There's parking, there's water, you have all the elements.
Yeah. And I guess the question then is, how much space do we need? How much space can we take there, et cetera, et cetera. But we can talk now. So your suggestion then is, should I reach out to the Harbor Island Conservancy to make sure they're okay with it, or do I need to do that? Or
No, you don't need to reach out to Harbor Island Conservancy to get the approval for the community garden plots at Harbor Island. You need our approval, board and village manager approval. That's it.
So what do
okay,
we?
great.
Apologize later.
Oh, it's not theirs. And they wanted, they asked the board permission, so.
So do we need to pass a resolution or anything, or do you just?
Once you pick the location and you're specific, and we can figure out how many plots,
Mhm.
how many plots we're looking for, then that's the information that we would add to the resolution, just to make sure that the public is aware and the board is aware that there's going to be a community garden there. Community garden's an awesome, amenity or opportunity for people. So, and low impact. So there's nothing controversial about a community garden.
Oh, you're speaking too soon, probably. but
Yeah, no,
we'll see.
I know there isn't. I know there isn't. Don't worry. I've built quite a few.
Okay, well, so I will scope out, like, get the exact coordinates of the area and also provide you with the details of how many plots we think we need, how big the plots are, how much space. I mean, obviously we won't need water barrels if we have access to water, that's great. That's a big
Yeah,
plus.
we'll have a hose spigot. We'll have a hose spigot.
Perfect. Okay,
There's
great.
probably going to
Okay.
be a much bigger demand for plots because they're in a much more visible location. I don't
Yeah,
think the majority of people don't
definitely.
even know they exist.
Well,
Yeah.
so we currently have 12, and as I said, they're always oversubscribed, and I have a waiting list. And those plots are terrible and get no sun, and nobody can grow anything on them. So I think if you put them where it's sunny and they're more visible, we could easily fill 20 of them
Yeah,
annually,
I think
and maybe
yeah,
more.
yeah.
I know what
So,
you're talking about. I know the area you're talking about. I think it's a good idea. I think it'll
Okay,
only
great.
enhance that area.
Nice.
That
Perfect.
area kind of
Okay.
floods, doesn't it? Are you talking about like no?
No,
Yeah.
Not this-
we'll do raised beds. We're not gonna use that soil. We'll do
Oh.
raised beds and they'll be.
And
they'll
it,
be
and it
fine.
doesn't flood up that high anyway, Jerry. Like,
Correct.
so the Rushmore side, yes, that does
Yeah.
flood when you get
Yeah.
a high tide and lots of wind and lots of rain. Yes, that does flood, but over on the other side is much higher and it doesn't flood.
Mhm. It's true. You're right, Ray.
Okay,
You can
great.
That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Affordable housing, I'm not sure why it's even on
Yeah,
here.
why is
but
it?
it came up-
They actually asked for my support, because I talked to them.
Who?
Teresa Coiler at Washingtonville Neighborhood Association.
Yeah, I mean,
And I said, and I just said, we'll keep an open mind, but I really don't know anything about it.
It's not
You know,
even,
it's like a 5-story building, I'm not so sure, you know, I'm a fan, you know? Like a block from where Jen lives.
Are there solar panels on the roof?
yes, there are.
It's gonna be
There will.
very, and I know you're a big fan of it, but we need to learn more about it, but she.
Yeah,
can
no,
bring it up.
there'll be, solar panels.
Yeah,
It'll be completely, you know, energy compliant, whatever,
Right.
they're, yeah.
state of the art.
And the new thing is that, we are pushing for a roof, a public observation, deck on the roof. So people can go out there and look at the harbor.
In Harbor, that's nice, all right.
I imagine.
Do we know? I'm sorry, I missed the location of that. Lou, where is this?
That would be on the new affordable housing across the street.
Hunter,
Yeah, that'll.
Parking lot,
Will be
Hunter
both
parking lot.
dead bodies.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right?
Building, if there's the new village hall, will you still be able to see from the roof of that affordable housing?
Village
to
Hall, it's gonna be any higher.
No,
I know.
Village Hall is not gonna be any higher than it is
Yeah.
now.
But I'm just wondering if you actually see the harbor out there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you'll see that building from the walking up from the harbor.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's probably some restrictions on having the general public into a private building.
Well,
If there's an observation of death or not.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not what we're here to discuss.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So Dan,
My
Dan,
sense-
Dan, has the
Liaising with the other committees, other than you with flood,
Right, well,
it's their village wide.
I mean, it was flood,
The mayor
us
threw that out.
and the tree committee. We
That's it.
kinda, sorta, it's not on a formal basis.
yeah, I mean, I answered Taurus, she didn't respond to me.
Yeah.
That actually, there's a lot of communication that happens, like anything that we do that's relevant to Beverly, she gets a message. And I go to those flood meetings, talk to people all the time,
Yeah,
she doesn't know that that's all happening.
who's that?
The new mayor,
Oh, yeah.
so, you know,
I
and
don't know, there
I
needs to
mean-
be another meeting.
another, if he wants to sign up to be a
No.
liaison to trees.
No, it's,
And my last thing is, are we okay moving forward? We have visitors let them talk at the beginning of meetings instead of
Oh,
saying
yeah.
words about
Yes.
things. Okay,
yeah, I mean, that's up to the chair.
what do you think? What do you think, Jared?
I can,
feel tired.
real quickly, anybody else on Zoom have anything? Any new?
So
business?
Dan, the one thing that I wanted to bring up was the membership of the Climate Smart Community Task Force. That was developed by resolution, and at the time it was developed, the members of that task force were members of the Committee for the Environment.
Yes.
Now there's a couple of members of the task force that are not CFTE members. It doesn't pose a problem with me, but it doesn't necessarily follow the guidelines of a subcommittee of the CFTE. So I think that's something, yeah, go ahead, Deb.
We weren't thinking of it as a subcommittee. We were thinking
Okay.
of it as a separate task force for this specific issue. That's my understanding.
So then the board should name at the January meeting the members of that task force.
Okay.
Do you want, are there people that want to join that you're aware of?
No, not that I'm aware of, but I know David now is not a member of the CFTE. Ellen hasn't been a member for a year. So they should be officially named on the task force.
Okay.
So that annually, so that when we go for our points, we can demonstrate that our task force is, renewed every year by the Board of Trustees.
So changing it from a subcommittee to a task force changes the designation.
It's like you've multiplied by dividing.
Yes.
I don't think it was never a subcommittee. I don't think it was ever, because Ellen knew that she was not going to be on this any longer.
Right.
And
So
it was always the thought that it was a separate entity and it's a task force.
so-
I don't know
so-
what they're officially, if there exists a task force designation, but
Yeah.
that was the thought.
So what happens?
Jerry, is that something that the board needs to formally address and codify? Or?
Yeah, we kind of missed it
All
at the
right.
reorganization meeting, and we should have done that at the reorganization. We kind of missed it. So
Bunch of stuff missed the reorganization meetings.
yeah. So on January 8th, we should have the members of the CSC renewed or added. We can add members, of course, to the task force so that they can continue their work.
Okay, so let me, because we may talk about committees in an executive session during the day of that AP meeting. So what do we need to do?
We need to renew the membership of the the Climate Smart Communities Task Force.
Climate Smart.
Communities Task Force. And Ellen will have the members. Silva will have the members of that task force. She can provide it.
Expanding the number also?
You can expand it if you want to, but I don't know if we want to expand it. I just think we should officially renew the members that are interested in serving on the task force.
All right. I'll ask to put that on the agenda.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Did you
I
have
have a question for Lou, okay, about committees, that there was a talk that the flood committee was gonna get expanded.
Yeah, yes.
And so, but I haven't seen that happen.
Oh, no, because we're not fully reorganized.
Okay, but I hope you do that, because and then if we need somebody to come back to us, they need more, it's a small committee. So if we're asking a flood committee member like the mayor asked to come to our meetings to be informed in the other direction, But anyway, it's just, I would be good.
There's a number of things that were not done.
That would be good.
Have not been done.
And the other thing that never made it, that as far as I know, is that SLR resolution to have money for that through list study. Okay? And don't ask me to send you the email again. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's such a pain sometimes.
I mean, flooding is supposedly the big deal, so I don't know, that's flooding, so I don't know why.
Elections home.
They're all.
Otherwise, no.
Adjourn.
All in favor?
Yay.
Happy holidays. Be safe,
Happy
everyone.
holidays, everyone. Happy
Enjoy
holidays.
some time with your
everybody.
family. Bye-bye.
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 Congratulations, you survived.
It's a great member to have.
Don't worry, you get
Sorry, sorry to be a little bit, but just. It's all about the way.
I remember.
And then I sent you the